Bonjour, bonjour. Aujourd'hui, je vais inviter Amaravalley. C'est un projet communautaire de vie en connexion avec la nature, où le yoga est très présent, où la bonne humeur règne. Et ce sont des amis de Barcelone qui l'ont fondé. Des gens avec qui j'ai beaucoup évolué et qui m'ont complètement inspirée sur ce chemin d'épanouissement, de joie, de vie. Et j'ai hâte de vous les présenter. La conversation aura lieu en anglais. Et voilà quoi, c'est assez international comme plateforme les Amazones. On a tellement d'inspiration du monde entier. Et dès qu'ils se connectent, je les invite. N'hésitez pas à interagir avec nous si jamais vous avez des questions. Et j'ai vraiment eu envie de les inviter en fait pour montrer à quel point il y a des perspectives de solutions face à une crise pareille. Et en fait, ils vont nous parler un petit peu de comment eux, ils s'organisent au quotidien et avec leurs idéaux. Et ça a été des inspirations pour moi aussi bien sur le chemin du yoga que celui des festivals, que celui maintenant de la résilience. Et d'ailleurs, il y a un festival, cette année, on ne s'y retrouvera sûrement pas, mais qui s'appelle Agni Spirit. Et du coup, ça, je vais le marquer pour que vous puissiez nous rejoindre éventuellement. And now we're switching in English. I just shared a little bit what is gonna be this conversation about. And you guys are connecting straight from the mountains close to Barcelona. Yo, even the sun has come.
Yes, it's beautiful here.
So good to see you guys.
Bon après-midi.
Hein?
Bon après-midi.
Merci beaucoup. Yo, if you want to speak French, you're very welcome. Our community is mostly French speaking, but I already informed them that we take it internationally today to speak a bit with you. So first of all, could you maybe each of you introduce yourself a little bit so they know who are we gonna talk with?
Okay. So I'm Carlota and Malva and Morgan, and we started a project called Now Here Yoga about 5-6 years ago.
Wait, we're gonna enter all these details, but
okay,
because it's like before talking about project is like you are amazing human beings, and for me it was very important to have you on this platform because in this time of confinement on the platform of Les Amazones Parisiennes we are sharing a lot about inspiring people who take their dreams into reality. So before talking about everything that you are able to realize, I would like to have a little word of description of who you are, Carlota.
Who am I? Good question, right? Well, I am a human being like all of you who is trying her best to offer the world the best I can. And I'm trying to figure out right now what that is, and being in a place in nature and with this whole situation, it's bringing to light even more what is necessary right now. So I'm discovering
what is necessary and what you can improve or develop. But like already you're an amazing violin player, you're a yoga teacher, you're an amazing cook. And I mean, what I find fascinating, and you guys are gonna see like how much skills we have in namely those three people, but like all of what you touch is going to something exquisite, and that is true for each of you. But like, let's say that you have these musical skills and this wide words of ideals in terms of self-inquiry. Just to underline where you're going.
Well, yeah, you're right. I was born in a family of musicians. I studied music for almost 30 years, and I'm a violinist. So I guess that's very, very ingrained in my being. So I bring, I guess, this musical touch or like this kind of always aiming for like more beauty and more like refinement of things in everything I do. I guess that's kind of inevitable.
That is so true. And you see, like, just taking the time to talk about these things that are not a direct production or a direct creation that we put in the word, for me, it is giving a lot of peace. And when I think of you guys, it is a feeling that you bring to me because it's getting to the core essential. Oh, yes. Malvina, who are you?
Okay, so yeah, somehow it's difficult to define that, right? Especially in just few sentences, since we're always trying to dig deeper and rediscover ourselves. But right now, in that very moment, I'm feeling like one of those flowers that we have a whole field here of, and just stepping into a new chapter of my life, and with those amazing beings that inspire me every day. My background comes from graphic design and yoga. I would say those two things. And other than that, just playing with life, and right now also being a mom.
I was about to say, and having 2 twins.
Yes.
Amazing. And I would just like to say also that Malvina is my dear cosmic sister from a lot of adventures. And yes, I have, wow, an infinite admiration, because also you engaged me to the path of synergy. Like the 3 of you, of course, you inspired me into this synergy yoga and into this world of festivals. Before you, like I was thinking, it's just for drug addicts. And when I see like, oh man, we can actually build up things from this bubble of imagination, that was like transcendental. So yes, thank you for all these inspirations and all the great adventures. And Morgan, who are you?
My name's Morgan. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I've been living in Spain for the last 10 years. And I also have been teaching and exploring yoga for many years. I guess that's been my main focus. I don't have the same kind of like depth of or like range of skills as these 2 beautiful women. I think more than anything, what I've had to experience and offer through my life has been maybe an ability to question things deeply. And
and don't be so serious, because I know one of your other skills that is through music as well. You have the amazing aptitude of DJing and to break through.
For sure, I'm a lover of DJing and like dance and I guess of just like finding the ways in which human beings come together in beautiful ways. So,
and you know, like one anecdote that I also remember with you, because it was like when I was in Barcelona, maybe more than 10 years ago, and I was living there, and someone told me, come to the 5 rhythm. And that was actually very avant-gardist at that time. So I also remember like rolling on the floor and pretending we have no mental sphere and we can just be our pure instinct. And like you were leading this journey. And that was also like one of the first time, like before I even got into contact dance and all these things, people see me now as a crazy one. So thank you for each of you to bring this little sparkle of magic. Yes. And so yes, I believe like, I mean, that's just my experience, but like this is how I would like to describe that you're having this self-inquiry very deep in you, and you're sharing it in a very non-common way. And it's like people mostly go to Ashtanga yoga, Vinyasa yoga, and you guys found out about synergy. What it is that is distinctive in synergy from the rest of the yoga bubble.
Well, yeah, we met Simon many years ago, and his teaching. So Simon Borg-Olivier is the founder of this method, Yoga Synergy, and he's a real character. He's a unique yogi and investigator and innovator. And I think it was this revelation that yoga didn't have to be this rigid thing that you're imposing on your body mind. It's actually something that is about finding out what is natural and most joyous and most alive in you, and finding the ways to express that again and again. And it seemed very much like there was, for me, the thing that struck me most was, apart from the fact that the method worked and I felt great in my body and it really helped me on that level, was that there's this kind of sense of that it helps me just to cleanse away some of what I see as some kind of Western mindsets that we've come to apply to our yoga in many places in the world that ends up just making us like tense and almost like aggressive and kind of very inorganic in the way that we approach it. And when you take a step back from that and you're offered tools to really get into what does flow mean in your body and your movement, how does it feel to be in this posture or this sequence, and you really inquire into that, things start to look really different. It becomes such a joy to practice, to teach, to share yoga. So that's led us all into really going, hey, this is what we want to do ourselves, and that's what we want to share.
Also,
oh yes, and
like,
the word joy is coming a lot.
Yeah, since you've been talking a lot about as well ecstatic dance and 5 rhythms, and just like there was this moment in time where people started to go to parties and maybe not being satisfied with, okay, party, I need to get drunk, I need to look in a certain way, then I can go to that club, then I can listen to this music. And like more and more conscious people, they want to party maybe conscious, so not being, you know, on other states of being, and just like really going more into the spiritual kind of practice while moving. And I feel like Synergy Yoga is also that meeting point of being in a practice, but also feeling almost like you're just doing a massage, internal massage, or an ecstatic dance. And it's like what you teach as well. It's like I saw like some of your videos. I even managed to sometimes roll on the floor with you when the bubas were around, and I was like, yes, Ola, it's like totally this, you know, just like feeling really good and not like going through always tension and kind of like almost suffering to feel then finally great in Shavasana only, no? It's more like throughout the whole practice, you just feel like you're constantly reconnecting with yourself and just like nourishing and squeezing.
Simon could say that a yoga practice should feel like you're in a warm bath and you're being massaged by someone you love. And this someone is actually you. This is how we like to see yoga. And honestly, yes, the word joy is just coming from one of your discourse to the other in such a way that it is our leading point of self-inquiry through joy and not through tension, discipline, and rigor. But still, like when you enter this deep state of joy, there is a rigor and a natural structure that appear. And I really love how you guys manage in between the words. Would you like Carlota to add anything about the yoga?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that that I think I always took from Simon, or like maybe like the motto is this idea of that the joy is, or happiness is a choice, no? It is not something you work towards like so like, and you sweat and you suffer until you finally are happy, because if you suffer all the way through, you're just gonna get suffering, you're not gonna get happy. So it is this idea, yeah, and a single yoga practice can give you this idea that then you can transplant to the rest of your life of like, let's enjoy the practice, let's enjoy every minute of it, like every transition, every movement. And then when you start practicing at home and you like, you can, you know, sometimes we practice together and you just like, the three of us are just like, I don't know, just like there making sounds, you know, and you just like feel so good in your own body. That's happiness, and that's ultimately freedom.
Oh yes, the ultimate freedom that we're all looking for in a way, but through joy. No compromise with that one. And yes, it is very easy to jump to the other topic I wanted to talk with you about, that is the festivals. Because Malvina, you were mentioning the fact that when you go to a party, even the party is codified in our society. I call it the postureo, when you have to hold your glass and you just pretend dancing. Well, what we do is just dancing and maybe having a glass, but we don't even need it in our way of partying. And actually, you are the creator of the camp Now Nowhere, Now Here. Now Here Yoga is the derived project, and it is yes, inspired in the Nowhere Festival. So what is your relationship, guys, to the Burning Man ideals, principles, to this new way of having parties?
I went to Burning Man in 2009, and it made a huge impact on me, as it does, I think, on everyone who goes. And for those of you who don't know, there is a European Burning Man festival, a regional festival here called Nowhere, which won't be taking place this year, just like Burning Man, unfortunately, because of what's going on. But it's basically a co-created experience where everyone who's involved creates the experience. And I think part of the insight that Burning Man brought into the world was just how much is possible now, that when people come together and they're empowered to offer their gifts and to work together and to create beauty and art, that things that are far more extraordinary and far more beautiful, and even once you go there, kind of far more enjoyable than the consumer capitalist assumptions about like culture as a product that we consume. You go to see a concert, you go to a festival and you see a band and you have a beer and you do this, and that shared culture, like community, is about sharing in the consumption of these things. And once you come to a co-creative gathering, of which Burning Man is like par excellence, this incredible thing, and Nowhere, and lots of other initiatives that are happening now, even our Festival Agni, that you realize how empty, how like one-dimensional this consumption experience is. And you start to go, hang on, human beings are capable of so much more than this. I'm capable of more than this. I've got so much to give. I don't just want to take. I've got so much to connect with and work with and create with my fellow human beings. And when you have that experience, you realize, wow, like this is where culture develops. This is the leading edge of culture in this point in history and the planet. This is what I want to be involved in. And the kind of what's sometimes called default culture in the Burning Man culture. I don't use that term a lot, but it does maybe give a sense of like what's going on in the world that is just like, it's just from the forces of the economics and power and the development from the past that has come to be, that's just going on. It doesn't necessarily speak to those deep potentials that are far greater of our being than we sometimes give it credit for. So it's kind of like, it's been a journey for us of being inspired by that, and then finding the ways in which we can also create a space that people could have those same insights, inspirations, and kind of illumination of these possibilities.
And basically, it's like asking, each one has to ask themselves first, what can I give? And then it's actually making a super impactful way of co-creating the abundance. And I mean, that is really, really powerful in all the festivals culture that you are describing, where being just part of this miscellaneous network of interconnectiveness is giving your sense, alignment, purpose, and all those elements that we need in order to define our own identity, but also our role to play in the society as such. And I find it very fascinating, and it is it is a big ideal that once you experience it on the ground of a festival, you come back in your society and then you realize, wow, together we are stronger. And I mean, with our community, Les Amazones Parisiennes, this is what we want to do, bring the people who are inspired in another way of living together and just create, support one another, and be the paradigm change. And I mean, this is what you're doing with now here. So well, how is it working?
I think the thing for me when I look at that, the fact that we've engaged with and we're very deeply inspired by this whole burning culture, global festival culture, but we're yoga teachers and yoga's been an enormously important pillar in our lives as well. That when I look at these co-creative gatherings, and looking about what I have to give and everyone being inspired by that, you also realize that that's just what was being explained in the Bhagavad Gita, 2,500 years ago. It's just karma yoga as well. It's the karma yoga attitude.
It's at least our way of doing yoga.
Exactly. It brings it into relevance in the here now, Yeah. So, so that it's not just this like musty teaching, and it's not something you should do this and not that, and it's not these rules, but it gives you this felt sense of like, wow, this is my karma yoga, and it makes it really personal and present in a way that we found very few things do. So it's I think we feel very fortunate to have come to that.
Oh yes. And inspiring so much people, because what is fascinating is not just that you go once a year in this little desert of Spain, but actually from building this project, you have an entire community of people living in Barcelona who are relating throughout the year. And I mean, it feels so cozy, because even for me, not living in Barcelona, I'm still on the group, and it's like, wow, so much is happening, and people inspiring one another, giving this retroalimentative feeling that we are together, whatever is happening. So how is it for you, like, to build a community around yoga values and the festival in the co-creating sense of it?
So far, so good.
Who won that question? Come on, guys.
And now, I mean, I feel like all the things that we were doing before lead to this right now. So, you know, it just feels like actually natural step, and still feels like everything happens very fast, and it's just amazing. And every day when we are here around, we're like, oh my God, really, we're here?
Wait, because we haven't reached yet the step of Amara. I'm just talking about, like, the fact that, okay, you have these big ideals. Imagine just like you want to be Madonna one day and you just create your costume of Madonna, go on the stage and do a class dressed like Madonna in the desert. And then it inspired the people to be more free, more happy. And then it brings the people together, the ones that are seeking for this, for this self-inquiry, for this inner path of authentic revelation, let's say. And when you do that, you create a community that is like in more connivence, in more coherence in a city like Barcelona. So yeah, I just would like to hear your view about that, because I feel like there is a lot of energy implied, but it has such a result on the network of skills and artistic inputs and like joy that you're actually sharing with the people through the internet, through your now here yoga project. Nowhere, I don't even know how I should pronounce it. So yes, just this step, and then we reach the bliss state Amaravalley.
Yeah. And that's a little bit the joke and the point and the kind of like play around of with our project Now Here Yoga, coming out of our experience at nowhere, when, you know, one of those moments in a festival where you're there and realize that you are nowhere but you're everywhere, and there's nothing else than what's happening right now. So it's the here and now. So that's, you know, the playing words with now here and here and now and nowhere. It all came to like this kind of absurd cosmic joke, no? That it has now gone beyond everything, and it's like kind of an everyday kind of motto, no? So I think what for me at least, what the festivals and nowhere especially have brought is like this idea of like always just wanting to like do it, like keep exploring, keep doing things differently, but not just differently, like, hey, like this year we did this, but what about next year we take this and then we invite this other person to do this, and then like, oh, we could, you know, like dream and create things, and then having a whole group of people just suddenly really being excited about creating new things, no? And in a way what nowhere gives you is this feeling of possibility, and like there's no judgment, because it's like a rehearsal place for life. And that's for me what I always felt like it's kind of the backstage of life. But then when you come out, then you're like, oh, I rehearsed already how to build a camp or a structure. I rehearsed how to teach a class, you know, on a tutu. Now, you know, now anything else feels just easier, no, in the default world. So for me, it's this feeling of just being able to try new things without being scared of being judged or failing. And that's like,
and knowing that this aptitude is actually giving you the strength to attract many people who actually wish this kind of liberation for themselves. And this is where out of a sudden you're a community, and this is where we're coming back to the point, Malvina, where you were already talking about Amaravalley. So tell us, what is Amaravalley about?
Well, Amaravalley, it was like a revelation. So at the end of our last teacher training in August, we saw an email that this place was on sale. And I remember this morning just coming to the kitchen and Carlota saying, Malva, do you know that? So this place was called before Arcadia. And we did like a retreat here a few years ago with
I was there.
Exactly. You were here in the stone circle practicing with us. And and we were here living in one room together on the bunk beds and had so much fun. But I don't remember much from that place, actually.
And then in the summer, it went on sale. And from there, everything just escalated super mega turbo fast. And here we are.
So we've been for years, because we've been inspired by this sense of that that it's really important to create the space for real community, for this co-creative community, because we all gain so much from it when we all engage with that. And we've been, from our experiences with that and creating the Camp at Nowhere and Burning Man and all these things, we wanted to find a place where we could offer what we felt was of most value to our community and to the world. We've been running yoga retreats and courses for years, and so we were like, so that was also obviously a part of like, how can we create a place where there can be deep learning? How can there be like transmission between us of what really matters? And having a space for that, having a physical space, was kind of the obvious next step. Once we've developed these skills, we had this insight, and so through just an enormous confluence of, I don't want to say coincidences, more like just through continuing to hold the vision of what that actually looked like, we kept finding the way into something that could come into the world. We found the way of bringing it about. We found investment. We found a plan. We have an amazing community of people who are involved, some of whom who are here, some others are not, but they're bringing so much of their wisdom and their work and their creativity into what's happening, and it's just building from that, because there's also, we have this insight of like, when you go to a co-creative gathering and you come out of it, one of the things that the karma yoga of that washes away is sort of your egoic sense of trying to make it all about you. And you realize such a broader thing. So when you say about community and how important that is, that's what's really grounded us in this, because it's meant that what we want to do here is about creating something that has value for everyone. And
having less alone
us,
and more together. That's like one thing that is popping in my mind constantly these days, because it's just like you build this project just before this major global crisis. And it's like, and now when you look around, you can just be like, wow, all the ideals of permaculture, your yoga practice, your sense of friendship and belonging. I mean, is there anything that is not brilliant around you in life?
Well, I would just say that it seems now like such a fairy tale, but of course it's like the other side of the coin. It's just a lot of work, a lot of courage, or hard work. You know, many times just like diving into a project or like an idea without knowing what is going to be the outcome, and just like diving in full on and saying like, okay, we're going, I don't know where we're going, but we're going. And then also having a lot of faith. I think this faith of like this, you know, this, like what Morgan said, a vision, but sometimes you don't even know what is going to be the outcome, but you still have this deep faith that it will lead wherever we have to go. It's going to be a good lesson, and we need to do this.
Yeah, and especially you, Malva, how many times you inspired me, how you just can take the events, how they come, and just like make it enjoyable to the next level. And you guys have this vision of like anything like that came into my life, you guys almost did first. So I see you as avant-gardist in this world of yoga festivals, because you also have your own festival. I mentioned it before, but like it's called the Agni Spirit. Is it gonna happen this year in a little community, or?
We think that, obviously we're living in a kind of unprecedented time. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we think that we're going to be able to hold a gathering that's almost going to be like the seed of the new Agni, which is now has this home at Amaravalley, where we had been in different sites over the years of the festival. But I think it's going to be a small and intimate gathering. But we also know that no matter how many people are there, the specialness is about how deeply we open into each other and lift each other up. That happens at all of the scales,
in a way, like I feel like Malva said before, like it's not a coincidence we're here. It almost feels like it was the obvious step after being many years in Barcelona, building a community in Barcelona, traveling a lot, going to all these festivals, doing retreats, and going to New Zealand every year, meeting people there, bringing them here, like creating this like global network and bridges everywhere. And for how long can you do this? Like there was always a point that was like, okay, now let's do something with all of this. And we first started a yoga school in Barcelona, the Yoga Lab, and that was kind of the first physical space where we could do our things in Barcelona. But then in a way that wasn't either like it, because ultimately we wanted to be in nature, no? And then now we're here, and it almost seems like, wow, we're so lucky, but it also feels like, oh, that's what we wanted from the beginning anyway, no? So I feel like also being here at this time in history, when the lockdown is happening, and all this, we're about to open an events center, a retreat center, and we don't even know if we can run events in in the next months. So of course that brings a lot of uncertainty, but it also kind of has given us the time to really like inquire more deeply into what we want to do here, how, and also giving us like more actual time to build and do other things that if we had to open back in Easter, we would have been really stressed, no? And so it gave it's giving like a different sense of time. Like time is somehow stretching. So in the same way with Agni, that we've been for 4 years doing a festival that has been growing consistently, and last year was like exponentially growing, and a big investment in all, like in energy and everything. And suddenly like to have an edition where we like taking a step back, because the whole world is taking a step back, it almost feels like a gift. So I actually think it's whatever form Agni takes this year, it's going to be just exactly what Agni needs to.
It feels like nature is anyway the linking dot that is bringing all of the topics for self-inquiry all together. And now you are in this place. And what I guess that honestly, if you listen to that talk, it's just like, I invite you so much to meet Amaravalley, either on the events that will take place in the future, either on the online retreat, because you also reacted so fast and you were like, okay, everyday yoga, and now we have a Zoom class, and it's like, come on guys, you are just like heroes of all times. Whatever happens is like, you worked it hard in the resilience aspect, and yes, it is working in a way. So yeah, it is not taking the way you imagine, for sure, as we could never imagine what is going on, but like at least you are having answers for everything with a very creative approach, and that is like a quality you're bringing into your way of living, and that nature gives you back. And I see you settled, and for the next lockdown I take a flight to you.
Well, I think we can see with what's happening right now in the world, but just in general in our lives, we all know and we feel that the world is changing very quickly, and it's changing faster and faster. So our ability to adapt to that, our creativity, our resilience, and our insight into that also has to keep up leveling to be in contact with it. But then at the same time, like you said, nature is this thread that binds everything together, and the nature of the biosphere and of human beings, our psyche, the nature of consciousness isn't changing. Just the forms that are coming out of it. So kind of like also being able to ground ourselves in that which doesn't change is such an amazing foundation for dealing with change in the world. And so I think that's why we're really happy that the online classes and the online retreats that we've started doing, very quickly came in to go. I think we've almost been like pleasantly surprised how much you can share, how much depth and richness of the yoga practice, of insight, meditation, you can share even in this virtual realm, even doing this now, that wouldn't have even been possible just a few years ago. But now it's
and imagine when first like the musicians were doing only live concert, and out of a sudden there is CDs, and the people at first were like, this is not the right energy, but now we are so used to it. And I feel like we are this precursor of, in 100 years people will be just like so used to that. And it's like, it's important to see what role we play in this progressive implementation of the new world, but also what core values we stay stuck with, and I mean, to choose our fights in a way, right? Because we knowing what we want and having the vision, you mentioned that, and having the face, Malvina, you mentioned that, and it's like vision and face can't lead you wrong if you link it to the heart and to the nature. So this is like what I take from, yes, the generous inspiration you're bringing to this world. And if you'd like to add anything, we're going to record this video, so I'm going to share it with you afterwards. We can have a little souvenir. And yes, and keep on doing the work, because there is no other way. We're in this together, and everyone having their tracks, their paths, and at the end, like enhancing the vibration of Pachamama.
No.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, like, in the same way that, you know, you've been praising us for our work and inspiration, but like we're all also very inspired by what you do, but what you do with like the Maisons Parisiennes. Like, it's always very rewarding, or like very just like, oh, there's other people also who care about like just being, you know, quick also in like the way you respond to life, no, and quick, but also like just gentle and coherent with what your values are, and how you approach your students, your life, and what you offer, and it seems so authentic. So
and basically how we share that love. I can't wait to squeeze you guys. Private joke, but okay.
No, we look forward to that too. I mean, I think if anything, would also like to say, so we're at the beginning of a big project. So Amaravalley is 10 hectares of a beautiful property in the hills, in a big forest, as you can see around us, north of Barcelona, about an hour and a half north of Barcelona. And we're going to be running all sorts of trainings, transformative events. We're giving these online classes and events. We're going to be doing lots of community stuff, like all sorts of things, from permaculture to yoga to design to art to music
to shamanism to cacao
to ceremony. We work with cacao a lot, and we'll just be looking at what can come together here, what makes sense, so that we can hold this space of value for everyone who comes. And if anyone is watching, or if any of your community want to get in touch with us, we also are open to people getting involved. And that could take all sorts of different forms, whether that's collaboration, whether you want to bring an event here and hold some kind of transformative gathering, whether you want to come and you have some skills that you'd like to share with the Amara community as we continue to develop the place. All of these things are possible. So, I guess maybe after you post this, you can either get in touch with Les Amazones Parisiennes, or
we're going to be forwarding the messages details. For sure.
We have our web, amaravalley.com, has a contact form, all of these things. And so just we're also really excited to continue to meet people who would like to get involved in creating these new possibilities for the future, for living together, for gathering, for yoga, teaching, art, all of the disciplines.
The call is launched. Thank you so much, guys. I love each of you, and all together it's a beautiful community. Keep on spreading the vibe, doing your work, and we're all gonna follow you because you are leaders of inspiration for this earth. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we so look forward to see you here.
Yeah.
It will come. Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Much love.